Hey, good evening, everyone. Tuesday night, July 5th. Been a couple of days since I've been live on here. If my eyes are wandering a bit, I've got my beloved St. Louis Cardinals on right over there, baby. Yeah. ESPN tonight. Love me some St. Louis Cardinals. Anyway, just had a wonderful July the 4th and a great weekend, and I've just been enjoying family time, and I'm feeling good, and just so grateful, so thankful for so many things, and all the wonderful people in my life, and what we've been able to just do with our kids these last couple of days. Our 10-year-old son, man, I mean, this dude just loves fireworks, man. I mean, I think he could probably shoot fireworks every single day of the year, man. And I don't love fireworks as much as he loves fireworks, but I love that he loves fireworks, and I love supplying him with lots of fun and fireworks and watching him. We did a ton with my cousin in Missouri on Sunday, and then I couldn't resist, and I went and bought him a bunch more yesterday, and we got away with doing some here in our neighborhood, and we just had such a blast, man. So much fun and good stuff. So anyway, man, just wanted to jump on here and talk about a few things tonight. And I wanted to first start by sharing with you kind of a timeline of kind of the last 9 months, but with some things that you may have forgotten, or depending on when you've joined in following the journey, maybe you didn't catch or you didn't know about, and at the same time, maybe you missed as well. And I think it's just healthy. It's good for me to remember this stuff, and it's good for me to share it. So I want to just kind of go through some events that have occurred, and it may shock you based on my results, based on how much I've been able to heal, based on how well I'm doing. It may be like, wow, I didn't know all these things occurred. Because I think sometimes we get this impression of people that inspire us, or people that seem to be having good things happen to them. We tend to think that nothing ever goes wrong, right? Like that they never have any tough circumstances, or they never have anything challenging, that the reason they're able to be the way they are, or do what they do, or end up where they're ending up is simply because, well, planet Earth just isn't hitting them like it's hitting me. So anyway, I was just thinking back to the very beginning. And, I got diagnosed in early October, and in November we decided to go to CHPSA Hospital. So, man, things are going well. I'm still feeling good at that time. Didn't really have a lot of physical issues. The headaches that I originally had that caused me to go get the MRIs had actually subsided and went away just by me changing my diet. Wasn't really having bone pain anymore, thank God. And then basically the night sweats actually stopped within 3 or 4 weeks as well. So, man, I'm over there, I'm kicking butt, doing all these treatments and therapies in November at CHPSA Hospital, and then I do a bunch of dental work. Well, honestly, we've kind of beat ourselves up a little bit about that, kind of felt like maybe that was a huge mistake. And then just recently, an alternative doctor I'm working with here in Tulsa, he actually tells us, hey, in my 30 years of practice of helping cancer patients, the number one trigger I found for lymphoma is root canals. And he says, thank God you got that dental work done right in the beginning. And I'm like, oh, wow, I mean, talk about perspective. I mean, here we're thinking maybe it was a mistake, maybe we shouldn't have done it so soon, maybe it was a detriment, maybe it caused me to, actually deteriorate there for a period of time. And he's saying, woo, thank God you did it, right? I mean, it's just crazy looking back, So then I come home in December, and things kind of deteriorate for me physically, and basically what happens is the fluid starts to become an issue. And it really started out initially being a real issue around my lungs, and it was especially on the right side. And I was literally needing to get it drained I could have had it drained daily. It was hard to get into the hospital that often. I was having ER visits. I had a coughing spell attack one night where I couldn't stop coughing for like 4 hours and ended up at the ER at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That happened more than, one time. And so anyway, ultimately, a few days before Christmas, I decided to have what's called oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind, a Pleurex catheter put in permanently to where I could drain the fluid around my lung out on my own at home. Well, I get this catheter put in, and I'm definitely thinking this is the right decision, right? And it is so painful, okay? And I distinctly remember this. Like, I am cussing mad. I mean, I am yelling. I'm so angry. I'm like, I cannot believe I did this right before Christmas. I'm trying to enjoy my family. I'm like, this is the dumbest decision ever. I just want to rip this, out of my freaking chest. And I'm pissed, right? Well, of course, at this point, I've already had it done. I can't really change things. So 3, 4 days go by. I get through Christmas. The pain finally subsides from them putting it in. And of course, not just a couple of weeks later, and I'm like, oh, thank God I have this Pleurex catheter in, right? It's just amazing because, man, I was needing to drain my lung every single day. And then in January when we were in Mexico, the fluid around my abdomen really, really started getting bad. So, can you imagine if I was having to get my stomach drained and my lung? It would have just been a nightmare. So I'm like, holy cow, how quickly did my perspective change? First I'm thinking, talk about the emotional roller coaster, right? And we can all relate. You don't have to have cancer to relate to this idea. You think you want to make this decision, then you make it, and then you're like pissed because of how it's affecting you maybe initially. And then, not too long after that, you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I did this, right? And a lot of people aren't willing to be transparent or vulnerable or honest about this stuff. And they make it out and act like, oh yeah, I'm so glad I did it. And, I never second guess myself. Oh, whatever, right? Like, we're all human here, So that was part of it. Then in the early months, Caroline had talked to me about getting my kids are at the window here outside playing. Yeah, there's my son Addison, and looks like my son Arthur and some of his neighborhood friends. So anyway, Caroline had talked to me about, hey, why don't you get a port put in? And I had looked on Google at what a port looks like, and how it kind of bulges out, and I was like vehemently against that. I'm like, ain't no way on God's great earth I'm getting no port put in, okay? Well, then I go to Mexico like back in November, and they're having a hard time, getting in my veins and stuff, right? Which you wouldn't think. It looks like I got great veins there. And I remember them trying 4 and 5 times. And I just getting so tired of being poked and prodded and getting these IVs in. And then they had to stick these little things in that stayed in for a couple of days. And it hurt and bothered me. And anyway, there we go again. My perspective changed. So on the last day of 2015, since we'd already, paid our deductible on our insurance, I got a port put in. And let me tell you today, thank you, God, I did, because it's been one of the best things ever. I love that thing, man. They access it so easily, so quickly. It doesn't really hurt. I don't have to be poked and prodded all over my arms. And so, sure enough, right? So then we're back at CHPSA in January for the second time, and I wasn't doing very well. In fact, when I got there at the end of December, early January, I was basically bedridden. I was so weak and so deteriorated. I hardly got out of bed for 3 weeks. They had to help me out of bed into the bathroom to even do coffee enemas. It was a real struggle. That was a rough stretch. I really couldn't eat or drink. I was basically getting nutrition through IVs, and I was pretty much on IV treatments 24/7 almost. From nutrition to everything I was doing. Well, I started to improve, and I got a lot better, and ultimately I left at the end of January. But here's what happened. I thought that I had figured out the way to solve the fluid problem. And I thought it was 100% based on diet, because about 3 to 5 days before the fluid stopped, okay, I changed to an all-fruit diet. right? Well, my uneducated mind and my lack of understanding, made me think that that's what it was. It never dawned on me that the treatments I had been getting 5 days a week for the last 4 weeks might have actually been the real reason that the fluid had actually stopped. That you couldn't just change something that quick in your body, in just 3 days, right? Well, I kind of flipped a lid, honestly, was just adamant. I'm stopping all treatments. I'm so sick and tired of taking supplements. I'm taking a break from all of it, and all I'm going to do is eat fruit, right? I'm like, and we're going home, because we were actually scheduled to stay a few more weeks. Come here, Arthur, and I'll try to help you while I'm doing this, okay? My son needs his shoe untied. Can you say hi, Arthur?
Hi.
Yeah. What's your name?
Arthur.
How old are you, buddy?
4.
Yeah. Who's Daddy's favorite?
Me.
Yeah. Can you wave at everybody out there? Huh? Okay. Hold on just a second here, folks. Let me untie this shoe for my son. Where's Mommy at? Can she help you with this?
No. Mom's upstairs unpacking.
Oh, she's packing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to Montana soon, aren't we, buddy?
Yeah, Mom let us pack, and Mom didn't want me. She didn't want coming down here.
Oh, okay.
That's
all right.
why she didn't come down
Okay,
here.
Addison can help you tie those, okay?
No, I'm taking
Oh.
them for the trip.
Oh, you're taking them for the trip. Okay, buddy. Thank you. So anyway, hey, appreciate you guys letting life just be life, man. It's not even an interruption, right? It's just he is my son, just like you all have kids and we all have things. Isn't that the beauty of just living in grace? I mean, right? I mean, isn't it crazy how we get some idea that things got to be some certain way? And, man, anyway. So, I went back to Chipset in January after I had been there in November because I wasn't doing very well in December, and I felt like I needed treatments again. So the treatments started really working in January, the ones that I was on this time, which were different than the ones that I had been doing in November, okay? Well, then I started getting better. I decided to leave 2 or 3 weeks early, come home. I got this crazy idea that it was all based on just eating fruit only. I stopped taking any supplements. I stopped all the treatments, everything, okay? So basically the fluid stopped for like 5 weeks, all right? I hired my first health coach, and it seemed like everything was going great. I hired him for 30 days, ended up having to ask him to leave after 10. It didn't end so well, all right? And we had paid him up front, and there was some discretion on that, and you know what? It could have turned into a really stressful, bad thing, but you know what? You just have to chalk it up as it's part of the journey, it's part of the experience. I don't have any bitterness in my heart. I don't blame him. I did learn some stuff, and I'm thankful for those 10 days. Well, just kind of fast forward, and then I'll continue down this journey of perspective. We just recently got my Grease blood test results back, and we also have been working with this alternative doctor here in Tulsa for a couple of weeks, and he put me on glutathione and alpha lipoic acid to specifically help my liver, because we've figured out, and this doctor knew immediately, that the liver is the reason why the fluid buildup continues. And Caroline could explain in more detail why that is, but basically at the end of the day, the liver is not functioning the way it's supposed to, and so therefore that's why the fluid buildup continues. If we help the liver completely heal and correct it, and it gets back to normal and it's functioning correctly, the fluid will stop. Well, sure enough, within like the last 2 weeks, the fluid is already slowing way down, and I am convinced another week or two and the fluid's going to be completely gone. And this time we're going to have known what to do, and we're going to continue doing it until I'm completely healed and the cancer's gone. And guess what? I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's called the Grease blood test, like Greece, the other country. Grease blood test. I'll post a link in this thread when I'm done with this live on where we got ours, and you can go read about it and research it. I highly, highly recommend it for everyone, okay? So anyway, here's what we just found out, okay? We find out that poly-MVA had lipoic acid in it, and I was on that back in January. I was also on glutathione. Then we find out from the Greece blood test that poly-MVA was something that my body really responds to. My body also responds to vitamin C. Well, I was on high-dose vitamin C back in January, okay? And then I was on B17 Laetrile, which I also respond very well to. So no freaking wonder now. I mean, like, oh my God, we started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it's like, yeah. And then Caroline went back and reviewed like blood results and ultrasounds, and sure enough, in February, the liver had went back to normal. Why? Because of the glutathione, because of the lipoic acid. No doubt those played a huge role. And then because I was on treatments that were working, right? But listen, folks, I didn't know that, and I didn't have that perspective. And honestly, I got in a huge fight and argument with Caroline. She wanted me to stay the course, and I didn't listen to her. Look, I can own it. I can admit it, right? What's the perspective here? All kinds of things can go wrong, and you can still heal. All kinds of things cannot seem to be working out, and you can still live a great life. It don't matter, right? So we just keep on progressing. Well, then we come home, right? February seems to be going well. We have to ask the coach to leave. We get through that, and then we start thinking, well, we really need to, attack this cancer again. So we start researching treatments and stuff again. Again, not having the same wisdom we have now. If we'd only known to stay the course on what I was doing in January, but again, part of our journey, part of what we've plowed through, part of our pioneering, if you will, is to hopefully share with you all of our mistakes, all the things that now we're like, that we just have to laugh at, right? Because it ain't like I've been through this before. It's not like it came with a manual. It's not like there ain't a gazillion different opinions and ideas and overloads of information out there. So then guess what, guys? We decide to go to the Philippines. And I don't have time to dive into that tonight, nor do I really want to. But talk about a disaster, right? But who cares? Who cares? Yes, today when people ask me, what should I do? I tell them stay on a treatment if it's working for a minimum of 4 months straight, if not longer. And that's how I'm proceeding at this point, okay? Anyway, guys, went to the Philippines, ended up being a total disaster. I didn't get better. We're pretty convinced all they did was pump me with steroids the whole time I was over there. We have some, facts and kind of some proof on that. And you know what? It didn't make me any better. Came home. Guys, I have been so anti anything that I thought fell under the, traditional or conventional treatment, right? I mean, even though Caroline had done all this research on immunotherapy and this specific drug called Rituxan and how it had like little to zero side effects and had been super effective with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, just the simple fact that it was considered a traditional or a, conventional treatment, I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not even going to consider it, right? And then it was just like one day, a couple of months ago, call it the Holy Spirit, call it my gut instinct, right? Like literally I had told her, no, I don't even want to talk about it. Don't bring it up. I was like mad because I'm so angry at the industry as a whole. I'm so upset with big pharma. I'm so sick of the greed and just the way they talk to people and treat people, and then just, man, something changed and clicked. And I thought, I just had a gut feeling. I just had an inclination. I said, I think we should start the Rituxan. I said, but I'm not emotionally ready to discuss that and to share that with everyone right this second. I got to work through my own thoughts and feelings and emotions. Well, let me tell you, folks, that was a God thing because it has been a perfect match. We've seen incredible strides in the last 8 weeks. I've had I've had no side effects, no issues. My body's responded extremely well. And with everything else I'm doing, infrared sauna, lymph machine, eating clean most of the time, coffee enemas, detoxing, walking, everything, right? Now being on the glutathione and the alpha lipoic acid, it's all just working together. And if you haven't seen a picture of the PET scans, I'll post them again here, and I'll post the picture of what I looked like 4 months ago versus what I look like now. And so I know I'm just kind of rambling, and maybe it doesn't all totally make sense to you, but here was the point. What's our perspective in the moments when we think we've made a decision that isn't good or doesn't serve us well? Are we quick to assume that we should have made another one before we get a healthier perspective and realize, actually, oh, that was great? See, folks, I don't think it's about making right decisions. I think it's about making decisions and just keep moving forward no matter what, and not getting all bent out of shape or overanalyzing every little stinking thing we do. It's spelled Rituxan, R-I-T-X-U-A-N, Rituxan. And I might have spelled that wrong, but I'll post it as well. So anyway, perspective, folks. The problem is typically not the problem. The problem is our perspective. And we've got to constantly reevaluate why we are addicted to this idea of thinking that everything's got to work out a certain way or to be perfect. And we've got to withhold judgment on the decision we've made during that decision, because until things play out, like I had been judging myself thinking I made a poor choice in regards to the dental work, only to find out information later that it might have been something that potentially saved my life. Isn't that interesting? Okay? So through all of this, offer grace to yourself, love yourself, and just make decisions and live with them, and stop thinking somehow you should have always made another one. Thou shalt not should on thyself. Okay? And thou shalt not analyze everything. Because see, when we make a decision and then we think somehow that one was wrong, we always assume that if we'd made a different one, it would have guaranteed a better outcome. But what we tend to not do is think about the fact that we could have made a different decision, and the outcome could have even been worse than the situation we're in. All right? The second thing I want to talk about real quick is freedom to fail and the pain of allowing other people to live in freedom. And when we allow ourselves and others to live in freedom, we have to understand that real, true freedom means that we are free to screw shit up, okay? That we are free to make mistakes. We are free, all right, to do things that might not serve us well. And there is pain in that, especially in watching someone that might be dealing with cancer. Maybe it's a parent watching a child make decisions that they don't think are best for them, okay? Maybe it's a spouse, right? And it gets tougher in the relationships that we are the closest to. But we have got to work through that in our own hearts and our own minds. And we've got to start living in freedom. We've got to embrace freedom. It's got to be okay that I don't even live up to these crazy expectations that I somehow, put on myself. Where do those even come from? Right? I'm telling you guys, I still eat a burger sometimes. I still eat pizza sometimes. Okay? I don't eat clean all the time. I mean, I remember someone telling me, if you ever cheat on your diet, buddy, you ain't gonna heal. Oh yeah? Guess you were wrong. Listen, folks, I just live in freedom. I am not going to sit around and worry about every single time that I don't eat the exact thing that supposedly would be the best thing for me right then. I'm moving towards health. I desire to get to a place where I'm eating clean 100% of the time. But for whatever reason, I'm not there yet. And I'm okay with that. You know what's funny? I'm more okay with it than other people following my journey who don't even have cancer or who aren't even sick. Now, how ridiculous is that, right? Like, there are people out there that have more fear for me, and I don't even have the fear, but they got the fear for me, right? And if I actually tuned into them, then I'd be adopting their fears that they have for me that I don't even have. I mean, it's just nuts, okay? We got to be cautious to not put ourselves in forms of bondage and in places that, see, we think, well, freedom is scary because, well, we might make a poor choice. Yeah, we might. And whether we actually embrace or live in freedom or not, that's going to happen because we're human. And humanness exists on planet Earth. And planet Earth is coming at us. And it causes havoc at times and things that are even out of our control. All right? So all I can tell you is seek freedom. We were built to live in freedom. Stop being afraid of freedom. If you are currently afraid of freedom and your first thought and your immediate, thinking is, oh my God, I mean, I can't be free, or she can't be free, or they can't be free because, oh man, they would just go out and they'd be sinning it up. They would just be being a total idiot and living like a fool, right? Man, you've got a real distorted view of freedom, right? What if it's just the opposite? What if being free is what causes dumb decisions and poor choices and bad lifestyles to lose their luster? And what if over time, because that's the other thing, we're so impatient, we want results tomorrow, right? We want cancer to be gone tomorrow. Maybe that's why so many people just choose chemo and radiation. I met a guy at the oncology office today, and I was talking to his mom, and she said, I'm just so inspired, Ryan, by your approach and what you've done. And I said, listen, man, don't compare me to your son, and I definitely am not doing everything exactly perfect or right, because she's so frustrated because he won't change anything. He didn't want to do anything other than just take the chemo. And he's like 25 years old. He didn't want to change what he eats. He didn't want to do any detoxing. He's not open at all. He's like, the chemo should just be doing its job and I'll be fine, right? Which, you know what? He probably will be because he thinks it's going to work and he thinks he's going to live. So be it, right? I mean, I don't have any judgment for the guy. But the point is that you can just tell by his mentality and listening to his mom, he just wants a quick fix. And I get it. I mean, so do I, right? I mean, who wants to suffer? Who wants to go through months and months and months of all those times where I posted the pictures and I had the big old belly and the discomfort and 3 a.m. visits to the ER and having to stay in the hospital for a week and being poked and prodded and had all that junk, taken out and can't sleep at night and back pain. I mean, none of us want that, right? So many times we give in to what we think's the quick fix, which very rarely ever is, and I think it always boils back down to, but if that's the choice people make, love them. Hey, let me tell you right now, people dealing with cancer don't need an environment of people around them who are anxious, stressed out, driven by fear, frustrated, and then offering that unsolicited advice. They damn sure don't need that. I'm telling you that for sure, okay? So let us be careful and let us be cautious that maybe some of us on the outside dealing with a spouse, a child, a sister, a brother, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, dealing with cancer, that we don't traject our own humanness and our own issues that are less than positive up on them. They need our unconditional love and support, even if we disagree with every single decision they're making on their path. It's their life and they're free. You be free and let others be free. Because we all are, whether we recognize it or not. But we'll be miserable, we'll be frustrated, it'll rob us of peace, we won't sleep as well, we won't be at ease, we'll be uncomfortable. People will be uncomfortable around us. It'll cause all kinds of issues in this life when we live in some form of bondage. I'm telling you, find freedom, find life, okay? And enjoy the beauty of what this life on planet Earth has to offer, even with all the junk, even with all the shit, even with all the messiness, right? You almost just stop seeing it. And what you start to see are all the beautiful, amazing, incredible, ineffable things happening all the time. And you begin to form this attitude of gratitude and this thankfulness in your heart, and it just becomes awesome. And it's totally possible. Guys, people are dealing with real stuff, and I'll wrap up here, It was an emotional night, an emotional day, as someone that we've been connected to through on Facebook moved on to the next realm last night and left a husband and 3 children behind. And they had been dealing with disease and cancer for the last 3 years. I don't know the situation, and I have no idea why this particular person has moved on to the next life. I don't claim to understand it. I don't have a lot of answers. But this is what I do know. She was beautiful. She was magnificent. And she is no less than I am. Just because I'm healing and things are looking great for me doesn't make me any more of an incredible human being than she was. And I'm so thankful to have known her through Facebook and been connected. And we're thinking about her husband and her children and her family, and our hearts are broken. And we go out to them and we love their attitude and their perspective, and how the husband is choosing to lean into God and just choose to see it in the light of, hey, you know, there's a mystery to all this, and we don't understand why things that we would prefer not to happen the way they do, why they still happen that way. And it's hard, guys. It's frustrating, right? I wish I could just tell you, hey, if you get cancer, this is what you do. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and boom, you're healed and you're good, right? Everybody wants this exact science, this exact protocol. What'd you do? And tell me how to do it, you know, and they want it all measured out. Folks, it don't work like that, okay? Someone said the other day, said, well, you know, the thing that's frustrating about your journey, Ryan, is, I mean, you just have done all these things and you got all these treatments and you've went all over the place. I can't really figure out, you know, what's working and what's not, you know, and it's just so frustrating, Ryan. I just wish you had like just an exact thing on what is actually working and how you've done this, you know, so it could just be crystal clear. And I'm like, well, maybe if you actually recognized what you're actually seeing there, you would realize that you just basically figured out the key. There is no key. There is no exact protocol, right? You just go and be and act and do the best you can, right? Maybe at the end of the day, it was the fact that I just had a will to live. I never felt like a victim. I wasn't even pissed that I got it. No fear of dying, right? Didn't care if we made mistakes. Wasn't worried about anyone else's opinion. Stayed true to myself. And you know what? Thought, hell, I'm going to go after this thing with everything I got. Maybe we took a shotgun, approach in the beginning, and then over time we've gained some wisdom, and maybe we'll be a little more efficient going forward. Hell, I don't really know, right? I don't. But I'm just wondering if maybe it's not so much about having the perfect protocol or this exact way to go about it, and maybe it's a lot more about the intangibles. Maybe it's a lot more about here and right here and our perspective. Guys, I went kind of long tonight, but it's been a couple of days. Live in freedom, be okay with stuff, and always reevaluate the perspective we have if it's not serving us well. Guys, y'all are beautiful. You're magnificent. The more you actually believe it's true, the more we'll all live it out. And that's how we really go change the world, is when we live loved, we live secure, and we're at ease. And then it allows everyone around us to simply benefit by the way we live our life. God bless y'all. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.